Alright, gentlemen and ladies, if there may be some ladies watching, I don't know. I got a really quick update to make on this thing. If you remember when I was talking about, turn this over, by putting the tape over the wires here for the landing gear. The wires, I put the gray tape over here and the white tape over here. You remember me talking about that? I don't even know if you can see all this. I'm hoping you can. Well, I got a comment on one of my earlier parts to this video. This is the last part right here. And one of the commenters had mentioned that they remembered seeing that there was a supplied tape to go over those wires. And there is a sticker that goes for those wires that I didn't really discover until I was already applying the tape. I'd seen these stickers earlier and I wasn't sure what they went to. If you can see that here, okay, look like that. You can see there's a white one, and I already peeled the one out of here. There was a gray one just like it, and they're about 2 inches long each. And I wasn't sure what they went to. I looked around on the aircraft and I said, well, no matter where I put these on the airplane, they're going to take away from the angled camo scheme paint job. So I wouldn't know where to put them. But as I was putting the tape over the wires, I realized that they were just about the right length to cover those wires in those slots that go from the servo to the wing. Been fine. So it does give you on your decal sheet, it has a decal sheet, it has all of your no step decals, and it also has these two, the gray strip and the white strip, to cover up those wires underneath on the wing. So you don't have to use tape. The reason I use tape is because it's just a simple reflex for me. With all the planes prior to this, if you had wires running in a groove they had to connect, you didn't have stickers for them. You had to use some kind of tape to cover them up. So I just instinctively went to tape. So you do have that option with this airplane, the stickers to cover those wires up. I just wanted to correct that. I just wanted to update that so that you'd know that there is a supplied sticker to go over those wires. This is how I routed my wires. I took the wires off the receiver and took the ones on the right side and taped them all up to the right wall over there, and the ones on the left side taped them up to the left wall to give my steering actuator plenty of swing room. Likewise, in the back here where the battery tray is, I taped the bank of wires on the closest to the right side wall, and the same thing on the left. So all it does is expose the battery on the speed controller, the battery wire, and the binding plug. And that's just enough space in there for my 2200 milliamp hour 4S battery to sit down inside there. It sits in really snug, but it does go in. So that's how we're going to do that. But I'm not going to use that battery for the test here because those batteries have a different connector on them. I have to replace a connector to put an EC3 on them. So for now, I'm just going to use a battery that will not fit in there, but it does have an EC3 connector. I'm just going to use that to power this thing up so that I can get this thing working. Okay, the radio's turned on, so I'm going to plug this thing in here. We'll get all the associated chirps. Let it sit, stabilize. There go the controls. Very good. And as I look, everything is flush and centered the way it should be. Perfect. So now I have it currently in AS3X mode. It won't do anything until I advance the throttle. So right now it's AS3X is not doing anything. You have to at least advance the throttle. I think you have to have the motor running. Yep. So I'm going to back that off. Take my throttle cut off. Give it a little boost. That's all it needs. It's all it needs just to activate AS3X. Now I can turn the throttle cut back on. Now you can hear it chirping as the controls deflect just a little bit to counter any sort of wind inputs to the airframe. So that's AS3X mode. When I switch it to safe, don't bother. No, I got my it's a 3% switch, so it's set up for another stabilizer. Safe mode is that position there. Most of my stabilizers have 3 positions: stabilization, off, and safe. Now we're in safe. This is what it does. It holds the, you can see it, the ailerons move and they hold their position until it comes back to level. Same with the elevators. So that works good. Now the manual says in high rates I should have 15 millimeters of deflection. I believe that's what I have, but we're going to look at that again on my ailerons. I haven't set my low rates up yet to the manual. I will, and I might check the elevator. But right now I have the protractor set up on the aileron, so we're going to be looking for on or about 15 degrees. Get a camera set up there. So right, that looks more about 12 or 13 there. It's close. Hard to get an angle with the camera with that thing. It's right about, it's close to 15. Going up, same thing, it's about maybe 14. Alright, so I might make a little tweak on that, and then I'll set the elevators up a little bit later, but that's looking pretty good. I'm probably going to have my own values put in. I don't think I'm going to want full throw on this ever, because I've seen the way this thing rolls on the video and it's a little bit intense for me. So, but everything right now is working, the right deflections, that's good. Nothing's reversed on my transmitter, everything seems to be in the right direction. Alright, I did put it up on my elevator just to check it out. That's about 16, 17, 18. Right about 15 on the down. Right about 17 on the up. So that's pretty close to what they're calling for, 18 on the elevator. So I'll tweak both of those a little bit and we'll see. And then I'll go with my low rates. My low rates may be a little lower than theirs, but we'll see. I went ahead and I put the remaining no-step placards on the flight controls for the aircraft. So I got 2 on the ailerons, 1 on the flaps, 1 on the flaps over here, 2 on the ailerons over here, 1 on each elevator. That's where you're typically going to see a no-step placard on an airplane, is going to be on the movable surfaces or on fairings. That's 9 times out of 10, that's where you're going to see them things. So I just went ahead and finished them off by putting them on those locations. One more location for a no-step. Right on top of the fuel tank. That'd be for a fuel tank or an armament that's accessible from the wing. If you guys ever worked on the fighters or any airplane in the military that has fuel tanks right underneath the wing, that's one place you'll find a no-step, just in case somebody's tempted who's walking and working on the airplane, working on the wings, wants to step down on top of the fuel tank. They don't want you doing that. But, you know, anybody's been in the Navy or the Air Force, we ignore that stuff anyway. We climb all over that stuff, regardless of what those signs say. Okay guys, as you can tell, I went ahead and did my missiles anyway. I debated for a while on whether to do that, and I decided to just go ahead and put them on. But I can't just put them on without doing something to them, so I did decor them up a little bit. I put some stripes on there that kind of reflect what a lot of missiles have on them. And I put a little, this would be like a placard for whatever reason. What I ended up doing was I just took some electrical tape, took some of my black electrical tape, my white electrical tape, and my red, and I cut strips out just to do a wrap around to make the circles, the rings around the front of the missile, and a square piece of electrical tape back here. I did that on all of them, so it just gives it a little bit more of a realistic look for the missiles. The last thing I did on this thing, and I'll show it to you, is I marked out where the CG is probably going to be. And it is this in this location when I put the battery in there. Put a battery in there. I marked out two spots, one at the recommended 88 millimeter, and one where I figure it's probably going to be is closer to the 83, 5 millimeters forward. I always seem to think that these things tend to want to balance a few millimeters forward of the recommended. So I'm just guessing and assuming 83 is a good spot to start in. So I made a line there for 88 and 83, one on each side of the aircraft there. You can see the one right there and one over here. And I put 2 drops of glue. And I think this is, oh, what is that stuff called? Well, anyway, it's glue. It's 2-part epoxy is what it is. I put a drop there on the 88 and a drop on the 83 line. I did that on both sides. So that way, when I have this thing upright and I'm balancing it out at the airfield, all I got to do is feel which finger or which drop of glue my fingers are on and see if it balances there. And I'm going to aim for the 83, of course. What I might do, I'm not sure yet, because it's really hard to get your fingers in there with these tanks and these missiles on there. It's really hard to get your fingers in there on those dots. So I may just, for the fun of it, on the top side, without using the lines, without discoloring the top and using the lines, measure out and put the same 2 dots at the 88 and 83 point here and over here. That way, when I have these rockets and fuel tanks on, I don't have to worry about getting my finger in such a small space finding those 2 glue dots. I can flip it over on his back and use my finger on the top of the wings and have more room to find those locations. So that's what I think I'm gonna do that. You know, now that I'm talking about it, that's just what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put 2 glue dots on the top as well. I know that on a high wing you want to balance it sitting upright, and on a low wing you want to balance it on his back, but I'm just going to put it on both sides just to make it easier for me out at the field. And that's it, guys. And I may actually change the CG later on after I fly it. But I know some people have put weights on the tail because they want to get it measured at 88 to 90. I just don't. None of my EDS, especially the 64 millimeters, have they ever wanted to have more weight on the tail. Every time I've done that, they've flown terrible, and I've had a lot of accidents with it. They always seem to want to be a little bit forward of where the manual calls for. And people on this forum say this is just about right, the 88. So I'm not going to go much further. I'm just going to move it 5 millimeters forward to the 83 like I have it on the underneath. So that's how we're going to do it. Here it is, guys. It's all I got for this airplane. Hope you enjoyed this build. Hopefully, if you get one of these things you're going to put together, this video might help you a little bit. I don't know if it will, but we hope so. But anyway, thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun doing it.